Welcome back to the class, children. So, in the previous period, we were reading the story, The Heavenly Parasol. So, let us quickly revisit whatever we have read. So, there was a beautiful princess in the town of Pragjyotisha. Yes, and her name was Amrita Prabha. So, when she came of age, her father, the king of the Pragjyotisha, arranged a Swayamvara, and in that Swayamvara, many illustrious suitors were present, and among them there was Meghavahana. And who was Meghavahana? He was the great grandson of the former king of Kashmir. So Amrita Prabha stepped down and she passed one after another, and suddenly she stood before Meghavahana and put the garland around his neck. That means she married to Meghavahana. So soon after the marriage, both Meghavahana and Amrita Prabha moved forward to take the blessings from the king. As the king stepped down from his throne, the priest of that kingdom shouted. What did he say? He shouted, "The parasol of Varuna has cast its shadow over the prince." Even the king of Pragjyotisha agreed with him. But Meghavahana did not understand any of it. He wandered here and there. He looked up in surprise. Suddenly, he saw a white, beautiful, exquisite, decorative parasol by his side. So, he was married. Soon after, the parasol of Varuna cast its shadow over him. The speciality of this parasol is that it casts its shadow only on those who will become the sovereign of the world. That means who will become the ruler of the world. So, with this fortune, Meghavahana returned to Kashmir with his bride as well as with the white parasol. After his return, the ministers of the Kashmir visited him. They even offered the throne to him. They were dissatisfied with the present king of Kashmir because the present king of Kashmir was involved in prayer. Because of that reason, he neglected the process or the affairs of the states. That's why the people of Kashmir were suffering. That's why the ministers of Kashmir offered Meghavahana the throne of the kingdom. So, till here we have read in our previous class. So, what happened next? Shall we find out? The heavenly parasol. Meghavahana became the king of Kashmir. Soon he proclaimed a law against the killing of living beings. So, as soon as he returned, the ministers offered him the throne and he accepted it. He became the king. So, shortly becoming the king, he announced, proclaimed a law. And what was the law? The law against the killing of living beings. It was not only a law for him, it even became his ambition that he would conquer the other kingdoms and impose the same law on them. So, as his ambition was to conquer other kingdoms, he went on an expedition. Expedition means a journey. So, once he was traveling, his army got tired because they were traveling one after other kingdom. So he asked them to take rest under the palm groves. So during that period, Meghavahana thought of a plan. He thought, I must use this time to plan a way to conquer the island of Lanka. He thought, as I said, their expedition was near the sea. Yes, so at that time he thought, let me conquer the island of Lanka. because the land of demons. It was the land of demons. That's why he wanted to teach them a lesson. The lesson of living in peace. But how will he cross the Great Sea, which is in between the landmass? Because he had a huge army. So it wasn't possible to cross him with those huge army. So what did he do? Yes, so all of a sudden when he was thinking about that plan, he heard a cry. There was a cry in the air. It seemed to come from a wood by the shore. Wood here means forest. Okay, so he asked his army to take rest by the shore. Remember? So when they were resting, he heard a voice by the forest, not far from where the royal horses were tied. The cry came again. He heard that sound again. The king heard the plaintive call. Plaintive means sad call. Even under Meghavahana's rule, I have been slain. So what was that cry about? Someone was crying in the forest by saying, even under Meghavahana's rule, I have been slain. Where Meghavahana was announced the law that nobody will kill a living being. Even so, I have been killed. Slain means killed or murdered. So, what happened next? As soon as the king heard this cry, in his agitation, in his anxiety or his concern, the king did not wait to summon his officers. He did not even call a minister or a soldier. Instead, he ran towards the wood. He just ran towards the forest, plunging through the undergrowth. So there were many palm groves, right? So it was undergrowth. Plunging means he struggled to go inside the forest. Yet he fought his way. However, with so many difficulties, he went into the forest till the voice was clear. So when he went inside the forest, there before him was a temple of Chandika or Durga. There was a temple inside the forest. And what was going on in that forest or in that temple? Some sort of human sacrifice in progress on the steps. So all of you know that in the land of Meghavahana, nobody was allowed to kill a living being. But here in this temple, a human sacrifice is in progress. A man lay on the ground, his arms raised in mercy. There was a man on the ground and his hands were folded. He was asking for mercy or sympathy. And a menacing looking barbarian stood over him, brandishing his sword. See, not only a man, there was a barbarian, menacing looking barbarian. That means a very dangerous. Barbarian means an uncivilized person. He was just over him. And what was he doing? He was brandishing his sword. Brandishing means flashing his sword. That means he was about to kill that man on the ground. So as soon as King Meghavahana saw it, he cried or he shouted, "Stop! You wretch! You dare threaten another's life in my realm?" He asked that man, "How dare you to threaten a life in my kingdom?" The barbarian dropped his sword in terror. So the barbarian, when he saw the king shouting, he was terrorized. In fear, the sword which he was brandishing or flashing fell down on the ground, and he also came to his knees. He fell on his knees before the king, and he said, "O noble one, have mercy. I am the leader of a troop of barbarians that live in this wood." So that barbarian person was none other than the leader of a troop which was living in that forest. And why the leader was killing the man? Because his little son has fallen prey to some disease and is on his deathbed. If he kills this man, the gods will be pleased and save his son's life. So that barbarian leader or that troop had a belief. And what was it? If they give a human sacrifice, then the gods will be pleased and they will cure the son of the barbarian. Because of that reason, they were about to kill a person, about to give a human sacrifice. So he continued, "If you prevent this sacrifice, my son dies, and the rest of my troop will give, or they will also die along with him." So they had a belief. If the son of the leader dies, then the members of the troop will also die along with him. That's why he requested the leader of that barbarian group, he requested the king that do not prevent that human sacrifice. Otherwise, his son will die along with his troop members. The king glanced towards a bundle on the temple porch and presumed it to be the sacrificed boy. So as this conversation was going on, the king just looked here and there on the temple porch. Porch means portico or the veranda of that temple. Presumed, he thought that that bundle belongs to the man who was lying on the ground. By looking at that bundle, the king's heart was filled with confusion as well as with compassion. Compassion means sympathy. So, when he saw that, he realized that that man who was lying on the ground was a poor man. That's why his heart was filled with compassion. The king said, "This man whom you desire to protect," continued the barbarian. Now the barbarian spoke, "was wandering about alone and friendless in the forest. Is he of more value to you than this child with whom many persons are connected?" As I said, if the son of that barbarian leader dies, then everyone in that troop will die along with him. That's why the barbarian said to the king, by showing that man who was lying on the ground, that man who was lying on the ground was wandering about. He was roaming around in that forest alone and friendless. That means the person who was about to get killed was all alone. He was friendless. He did not have any family. That's why he was alone, but the person or the son of the barbarian leader with whom everyone was connected, right? So the barbarian leader asked a very question wherein he asked the king whose life is more valuable, whether a friendless lone man's life or his son's lives with whom all other lives are connected. So During this time, the victim who was lying on the ground started crying, a look of terror on his face. He was scared because he may be a friendless man, he may be alone, but he also wanted to live. That's why there was a fear on his face. He started crying. Even the barbarian's leader started crying because he was in dilemma. He did not want to kill that person, but he was helpless because he wanted to cure his son by pleasing the god. Otherwise, everyone in his troop will die along with him. That's why even the leader of that barbarian started crying. He asked the king, "Sir, tell me what to do." He cried, "I cannot see my son suffer this way." Everyone was helpless. The man who was lying on the ground, the barbarian leader whose son was ill, and he has the responsibility to save his entire troop. Even the king who ordered or announced the law that nobody will kill the living beings. Everyone was in dilemma. Everyone was in confusion. So what happened next? Whether the king allowed the leader to kill that innocent man, or he came up with a solution. What happened next? We will read the story in the next period.